Have you ever loaded Windows IoT on an ARM processor? Well, today I'm going to do that. I'll take you through the demo. Stay tuned. Let's jump into it. So this video will be a little different than the ones I normally do because I'm going to take you through a demo of the process of loading Windows IoT on an ARM processor board. And I'm going to give you guys sort of an overview of the NXP I.MX8M Plus EVK or Evaluation Kit that you can order from Arrow. I actually have the website. Let me bring that up for us to look at. So that's the part number you're looking for. I think right now it clearly shows there's no stock, but we typically can get these boards and we can get some more in stock. So, but have a look. That's the part number you want. The board I'm going to show you. Let's flip over here. Let me see if I can bring us out here and look. So what we're looking at here is the box. I'm kind of doing an unboxing, if you will, of the NXP Evaluation Kit. So you get a little sheet of paper with contents, packing list. Put that off to the side. You get a little quick start guide. Then you have the board itself, along with the power supply, and a couple of different USB adapters to help with what's on the board. So I'm going to throw that one back in the box and keep it fresh and new. And then we will pull out the actual board that I've been working with here. So this is the board. Let's see if I can get in a little closer. You can see the part number there right in the middle, NXP and the 8M Plus. And this board, it has a ton of stuff on it that makes it easy to help you with your design. And again, this is kind of an evaluation kit. It's more of a test board. You wouldn't actually use this for production, but this is what you'll test your application on and get Windows IoT running on here. It is very different loading Windows IoT on an ARM processor board like this versus loading it on an x86. You know, in the Intel x86 world, we create a bootable USB. We boot the system to the USB stick and we install Windows right through the GUI installation, if you will. This one, a little bit different. We have to prepare it a little different. This board, along with the ARM processor in the middle, has 6 gigs of RAM and a 32 gig onboard eMMC storage. It's got a couple of gigabit Ethernet ports. It's got some USB, a standard USB port, a couple of Type-Cs, and a micro USB port. This one here is for the power supply. So you plug the power in and it actually says power. It's labeled as power. And I apologize if the video gets a little blurry here because the camera wants to autofocus. On the backside, we have the HDMI port, along with some other ports that can be used for various things like displays and cameras and sensors. You've got your on-off switch, very small here, hard to see. Let's see if we can get in closer because right next to it is the important dip switches. And right below the dip switches is the boot switch scenarios, letting you know what you get when you put those switches in different settings. So kind of a throwback in my day of going back and flipping dip switches. But along with the HDMI, right next to that, you have the micro USB card slot, which we'll show you here. And I've got a little 16 gigger that goes in that slot, which we'll be tinkering with. But that is your NXP board. And now we're going to start loading Windows on that. All right, let's first jump into the installation guide. So this is a guide that I've created. I basically took the NXP quick start guide and another NXP guide, and I kind of pulled the information in and put it in more of a simple order, more of a simple format that you can follow to get this installed. Because like I said earlier, it's not as easy as just booting on a USB stick and installing it. You have to prepare and go through quite a few different steps that are pretty particular. So here's a guide. You can get this from us. Just reach out to us, windowsiot@arrow.com. Say you want the Windows IoT on ARM installation guide for the NXP EVK I.MX8M Plus board, and we'll shoot you a copy of this. We are actually tweaking this guide almost daily just to update it, make it look nicer. So you'll get a newer version than this probably. But what you're going to want, the guide will have some links here to the actual guides. So if you want to dig into this stuff a lot further than my guide, you'll have the links there. And then you'll want a test, basically a test PC, also known as a host PC. But you're going to need a separate PC to obviously download all of these tools in the Windows image and some different tools and set that up. It's best if that PC is running Windows 11. It'll work if it's running a version of Windows 10 as well. So Windows 10, Windows 11, host PC, test PC, and you're going to download all of this software that it lists here to your system. The first thing it wants is the NXP BSP binaries. So it's basically, you know, NXP, the hardware manufacturer, has created the binaries and or drivers that you would download from NXP. I will note the links for the NXP site, the links to get these binaries are right here in the guide as well. You will have to create an account and log into the NXP site in order to get those binaries. Download those. You're also going to need the Microsoft ADK as well as the PE add-on for the ADK. That's what those two bits of information and links are for. And then lastly, you're going to need the Windows 10 IoT Enterprise LTSC 2021 ISO image, also known as an OPK, an OEM pre-installation kit. Lots of acronyms here. Another one there, download from the Microsoft SOC, which stands for Software Order Center, or you can obtain it from us here at Arrow and reach out to us via the email, windowsIoT@arrow. If you have a CLA agreement, you must have a CLA agreement to download this OPK ISO image. If you don't have a CLA, we obviously can help you with that as well. So once you pull all that together, you will have it all in a folder here, which, there we go. I've got a few extra things here because the NXP site had some extra documentation and some extra PDFs around stuff that you can reference, but ultimately you need the binaries, which is this one. Then you need the ADK and the WinPE add-on to the ADK. Then this is the actual Arrow guide that we were looking at, which is a Word document. You don't necessarily need these 3 PDFs. They're good information. And then you lastly need the ISO image. As you can see, that's a very long file name of the Windows 10 IoT Enterprise LTSC 2021 OPK ISO based on build 21H2. So that's all in a folder that technically per the guide you want to name NXP. I've named my folder ARM Prep. All right, let's jump into the hardware requirements. As you can see from the hardware requirements, you need the NXP board, which I obviously will show you here, NXP board. You need the micro SD card, which is that little guy there. You need the adapter, which I'll show you later, that allows you to read the SD card. Obviously, you can pick those up anywhere if you don't have one. And along with the board, you need a keyboard and mouse. I'm just going to start plugging in stuff here to show you. So white one is my keyboard going into a standard USB port. They give you a little Type-C adapter for USB that I'm using for my mouse. So I've got keyboard and mouse. In fact, let me see if we can't make this bigger, bring her in here so you can see me, what I'm plugging up. So keyboard, mouse, Type-C power. So the power is a Type-C and it goes into the one that's labeled power. And it won't turn on because there is an actual switch over here that's in the off position. So the guy is still off even though power is plugged in. And then you need HDMI. This guy here. And he is going to plug into the HDMI port right there. And again, right next to the HDMI, I have the SD card. So from there, we have all the hardware ready to go, and we're on to the next step. All right, next step from after the hardware is preparing the tech PC or the host PC. And the first step is installing the ADK and installing WinPE add-on for that ADK. So what we'll do is I'll bring up the folder here, and I will run the ADK installation. And you're going to install this to the default specs. I'm going to go ahead and scoot this guy over a little bit so you can see him. Hit next. You don't have to send usage data. You can hit next. You can accept the agreement. Here are all the options. We're not going to change any of those options. We're just going to keep the same default options. Hit install. Give it the admin approval. And the install begins for the ADK. All right, welcome to the Assessment and Deployment Kit. That's what your ADK stands for, Assessment and Deployment Kit. Those things are all installed. You can hit close. And now we need to install the WinPE add-on. So this is the add-on to the ADK that gives you the WinPE. I'm going to run that. We're going to choose the defaults again. Scoot it over where you can see it. Accept the agreement. WinPE environment. And we hit install. Give it the admin approval. Off she goes. All right, that finished the installation. You can now close that one. And we are ready for the next steps. And next up, we need to go back and rename that ISO because we're going to mount it. And Windows doesn't like to mount ISOs. And so also the name is really long, which is going to make some of the commands and different things difficult. So what I like to do is go back over here. Let me see if I can get myself out of the way just a little bit here. And find the file. There it is. You can see the name is extremely long. I'm going to start by shortening that name down to just Win10, Win10, and hit enter. What did I say to use in the guide? Win10 ISO. We're just going to stick with Win10. All right. And now it's an ISO. So as an ISO, if you right click on that, let's see if I can move this over so you can see it. If we right click on an ISO file, there is no option to mount it. Now I get this question a lot. What's the difference between an ISO and an IMG file? Well, if you use the old CD, DVD burners, they always wanted ISO images, right? Even Rufus, if you're going to use the Rufus, which is another video I have on how to create a bootable Win install, it likes ISO. Microsoft likes IMG files, and so if we rename this from .iso to .img for image file, I can now right click on here and I can mount it. And it will mount that ISO image as another drive on my computer, which is what it's doing right now. There we go. It made it drive G and gave it that name there, the ARM64 DB9 English US. So, and here are the files on that. So you can see it kind of mounted it as a DVD drive, let her drive G on my system. So good to go there. I'm going to minimize that and come back over here. Right click and mounted it. Perfect. So here's the board. It's kind of an overview telling you again some of the stuff I've already gone over. So we'll scroll down from there. And now we're going to flash the Windows IoT installer to the SD card. And so we're going to be using WinPE to deploy it to the onboard storage. So what we're going to do is we're going to navigate to the folder on the ISO that I just mounted. And we're going to locate the install WIM file, which is a Windows image file. And we're going to copy it into memory by right clicking and selecting copy. So let's do that. I'm going to bring back open that drive G that we were just looking at, and we're going to navigate to the sources folder right in here. And then you can look for the biggest file in here, which is usually right there. Easy way to find it. It's the biggest file in there. It takes up a ton of space. 3.5 gig is the install WIM. We're going to right click on that and we're going to hit copy, which I don't see. So I have to show more, copy. All right. Now let's see what it wants me to do next. So we need to navigate to the binaries folder and then into that IoT Enterprise on NXP folder and paste it into that folder. So let me leave that here and let me go back to this folder here. This is where the binaries were. Now, my guide, I have NXP binaries. I didn't name this one NXP. I named it ARM Prep. In the binaries folder, I didn't rename the binaries. I just left it as that. But there it is. And then I'm going to go into that folder there, and I'm going to paste it. Show more, paste. And it should copy that 3.5 gig file fairly quickly into that folder. Probably to stay with the guide here, I'm going to go ahead and fix the names of these folders real quick. So what's next? What is next? What's next is I need to inject the drivers into the image. So what we do is we need to open a command prompt as administrator. And I'm going to, I know you can't see this, but I'm looking for command prompt. I'm right clicking and running as administrator. And that will launch the command prompt window. And from there, I need to navigate right here, navigate to the binaries IoT folder. So that's on my drive E. And it's NXP and it's binaries. And then that folder is called, so I'm going to change directory IoT ENT on NXP. There we go. I'm in the right folder now. And then I need to run this command. So we're going to run the command make dash, dash WinKey dash enterprise .cmd /disable underscore updates /test underscore signing. And there she goes. Now, according to this guide, it can take up to 30 minutes. So we will probably, I will probably stop and jump ahead when this finishes. One thing I want to point out is on this particular step that can take 30 minutes, you will see that it says 100% and then the cursor goes to the next line and it kind of sits there and takes a while. So just know that that's normal. In fact, I'm going to leave that there and I'm actually going to move on to the next steps and keep going. So the next step is preparing the SD card, and let me switch screens here, show you guys once again. I have a 32 gig, it's a 32 gig SanDisk SD card, micro SD card. There's a micro SD card. Obviously, this would be an SD card. You're going to put that in the adapter, and I'm using a SD to USB adapter. So that is blank. I think it is formatted, but nothing on it. It's going to get wiped anyway. And what it's wanting me to do is open up the disk partitions to look at the disk partitions. So while the other one's going, we have this one to open up again. And what's it telling us to do? From the command prompt, run disk part. So that'll show us this is, and then we have to type list disk. Let's just show you the drives I have in the computer. So in this particular host test PC, I have an 8 terabyte drive, as you can see, 7,452 gigabytes as disk 0. Disk 1 is a 1 terabyte drive, and disk 2 is a 500 gig drive. And in this, which is my NVMe boot drive, by the way. So, and then it wants me to put the micro card in. So here we go. We're going to stick that into the PC here. And then it wants me to run list disk again. And there you can see it's disk 3. This is just to help determine exactly what disk number it is, because obviously that's really important. You get this disk number, you get this disk number wrong. If you get this disk number wrong, it can be bad, right? You could wipe out one of your other drives in your system. You don't want to do that. So clearly, the micro SD card is a 32 gig card. You can see that it's 29 gig unformatted, and it is disk number 3. So take note of it. Yep. Then we need to exit this part, and from that, and then we need to go to that folder and type the command down below. All right. So we're going to exit this part. And then we need to get back over to that folder, which is back on drive E. So now we're in that folder. So we're in the correct folder, and they want us to type this command. Note 1 being the disk number for the SD card, changed to match your disk number, which is 3 on my system. So, but I can't do this yet because the other thing is still going. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. That process, which I've enlarged here so you can see, actually took about 40 minutes. And it's very easy to think that it might be frozen because it sticks on this. It gets to 100% and then just sort of sits there, and you're like, is it frozen? What's it doing? It's saying 100, but it will sit there on that 100% for literally like 30 minutes. And then after that, it will say that it's completed, and then it will proceed to run far more stuff and even get to more of these where it will say 100% successful and keep going, which will take 10 or 15 more minutes until it finally gets to a point here where it says it is done. The layout was successfully created. All of the commands were completed successful, and you can easily scroll back through that on the command prompt to see. But it does warn you in green here that this could take up to 30 minutes. Do not stop the process, even if it appears that it is frozen. So keep that in mind. That particular command takes a long time. So here we are. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close that window because we know it's done now. And then I'm back over here where I did the disk parts. And remember, my disk is number 3. And now I'm going to run this command down here to right here, this make WinPE. And I'm going to make -WinPE enterprise.cmd/apply -3. 3 is my SD card. I'm going to hit enter here. And it's applying to physical disk 3. It's formatting disk 3. Just looking at my micro SD card and mounting. Disk 3 is now the selected disk. Okay. And we got an error. See the system event log. All right, let's figure out what's going on there. Seems to be working great now. Initially, I did get an error, which I left in the video so you could see that in case it happens to you. And ultimately, for me, I switched out a different micro card adapter. The adapter, maybe, I mean, I have a bunch of them, so I just grabbed a different one. and seems to be working. So we'll see if it finishes. We'll see if it completes here. I do know that SD cards and SD, micro SD cards and SD card adapters can be a little finicky. Sometimes it's finding the right one so that it reads it properly. But so if you do get any kind of error around mounting or running that make WinPE command, it could be the SD card, it could be the micro SD card, it could be the SD adapter, it could be your USB adapter. So you may have to try different ones. All right, that finally did complete, and that makes us move on to the next step, which we need to get a tool called the UUU tool. And I'm going to show you here the website. Website is the GitHub /NXP-I.MX/manufacturer tool/releases, and you'll see the UUU tool here. You download that little UUU tool, and then from there we need to go into the binaries folder and into the firmware folder, and then we need to create a folder here called tools. So we're going to do new folder, tools, and then we need to go inside there and do a new folder, call it UUU. And let's see, I downloaded that. Move it over there. Go. So once the UUU tool is in there, we're ready for the next steps. All right, next up is getting the board, this guy right here, ready to go. And so we need to, I've got the power plugged in, as you can see here, but it is off. So the board is powered off, and I need to set these little jumpers so that it is off, off, off. There we go. These things are so small. On, so it should be looking at the board with the power button in the top corner. It should be off, 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 on. So 3 of them down toward this bottom part of the board, 1 up. I don't think I'll be able to show it that close, but because it won't focus, maybe right there. Down, 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 up. And then we need to plug, and I have a really short cable, so I don't think it's going to work in here, but I've got to plug in the USB to my host computer. So that's what I've done here on the other Type-C. Type-C to USB, plugged it in to my computer, and then I can hit the power button. And you'll hear it turn on, and the PC recognize it. Now back in the command prompt over here, we need to get back to the binaries firmware folder. There we go. Now I need to get into the firmware folder. And then inside the firmware folder, we're doing the flash bootloader. Flash_bootloader. cmd/device, and then which model board, so it's MX8M_plus/secure0. And off she goes. All right, that finished. And the next step now is to go ahead and power off the board. Let's see if I can switch here. We're going to hit the power switch. We're going to disconnect it from the PC. And then we're going to come back over here and we're going to flip these switches to boot to the EMC, which is basically taking switch number 3 and turning it on is really difficult to do. And turning switch 4 off. Okay, so that should be off, off, on, off, or down, down, up, down, as you're looking at the word power. So that is set. So right now, the only thing hooked to the board is the power cord, and I don't have an SD card in the slot. So now we need to take the SD card, which I have right here, and pull it out of the adapter. And so I've got my micro SD card, and I'm going to insert it here into the little slot, and get it the right way, of course. That's the wrong way. And then push in until it is in. From there, we've got the dip switches set, and we need to hook up video so we can see this thing boot. So HDMI cable right into here. And I'm going to go ahead and hook back up keyboard and my mouse, which is right here, hanging on the table barely. All right, that guy's good to go. Now, before we hit the power button, I've got that switch number 3, which will switch us to the to the screen of this guy. We'll make it big here. We'll go ahead and get rid of those guys. And let's hit the power button. See what happens. We got a Windows logo. That's a good sign. It tells us it's booting the Windows installation. Go ahead and move my keyboard out a little bit and set this guy down. As you can see, the board is right here, plugged in, and that is the board booting. We've got the wonderful circles. And this installation, I'm told, could take a little while. So I may end up fast forwarding this or pausing it, but let's keep watching it and see how it does. So it's doing some other disk partitioning and formatting, and it's installing the it's Windows 10 IoT Enterprise LTSC 2021 specifically for the ARM processor. And the Windows 10 IoT Enterprise LTSC is supported by the NXP I.MX8 family of products. So if you're going to use an I.MX8 family of NXP products, your choice is Windows 10 IoT Enterprise LTSC 2021. If you want to move to Windows 11 LTSC, which will be out later, you will have to wait for the I.MX9395 family later in the year, or move to a Qualcomm ARM processor. Okay, we're back. And it did boot up to the Windows install, and we got this far. And it's a little funky with the screen. That's how I'm capturing it, through this little tool I have to capture the screen, so don't worry about that. But let's get through the install here. So keyboard layout, second keyboard, and let's get the Windows installed here. Going to connect to the network, which I don't have connected right now. Well, I guess I can. Yeah, I've got the Wi-Fi, so the Wi-Fi is working. Let's do it. And I got to use a different keyboard here. Hooked up to it. Sure I'm using the right mouse. And it is connected. That's good news too. So right out of the box, the Wi-Fi driver worked with the Windows install. That's fantastic. And it will continue the Windows setup. Let me toggle. I'm still right here, and the board is still right here. And that is the board itself booting. Or doing the Windows install, I should say. So it is installing the Windows OS from the micro SD card to the onboard storage. That is what we're doing now. Again, 32 gigs eMMC storage. We get to the Windows license agreement. We accept that. I'm going to just do a domain join, which is what's awesome about Windows 10 LTSC. I'll just use Ken as the username and no password. Love that about the IoT LTSC products. I don't have to use an email and do a domain join. I'll accept the defaults for the privacy. And this again is LTS. This is Windows 10 IoT Enterprise LTSC 2021, which is based on build 21H2. It gets 10 years of support. It does not have things like the Microsoft Store or Xbox or the weather or news. It comes with, I believe actually, it has an Internet Explorer with an option to download Edge. I may be getting it mixed up with 2019. But it is a very slimline version of Windows 10. It is the last version of Windows 10 that you can actually purchase. Windows 10 Home and Professional went end of life in October of 2022, if you can believe that. And then our Windows 10 IoT Enterprise non-LTSC version, also known as the SAC or the GAC version, it went end of life this past October 2023. And now the only version of Windows 10 that you can still buy is the Windows 10 IoT Enterprise LTSC 2021. Well, the older versions too, LTSC 2019, LTSB 2016, and even LTSB 2015 are all still available for purchase in the IoT channel. But this is the last version of Windows 10 that you can buy that is still supported for 10 years. We may just have to skip forward if this takes longer. Almost there. And presto, we have a desktop. Now again, my capture card is out of alignment slightly for the device I'm running it through, so don't worry about that. The start button is over here somewhere. Yeah, there it is. I'm clicking it. See, it's there, and we don't need to do that right at the moment, but you can see it is there. It's in test mode currently. Let's take a look. Let's look at a few things. Let's open, sorry, I'm using the wrong mouse. We need to go, let me move that one out of the way. Let's go down here and go right click File Explorer. Take a look at which drive. So there's our micro SD card, and here is our 32 gig onboard storage with 18 gig free. If I do the properties, it is showing me that it used 11 gig, basically 10.4 gigs were used for the install. So it's a 10 gig install. You can still absolutely go in here and massage that and get some more space. A lot of defaults like the recycle bin, you know, or saving some space. There's other things in there here that you can adjust to bring that space down. But if we, one of the things people like to do is, let me see if I can let me bring open the task manager. Take a look at the processes running. More details, processes, here we go. So, how many do we have running? 27 background processes by default with a default install of this product. And you can see memory used by default too, right there. Let's take a look at the system specs. System specs, I.MX8M Plus, 1.6 gigahertz ARM processor, 6 gigs RAM. It's running Windows 10 IoT Enterprise LTSC 2021 based on build 21H2. And just curious if it activated or not. Let's take a look at that. Let's see, we got to go back up here to out of the system setting. That's the about screen. Kind of went off the top of the screen there, didn't it? That's why I'm not seeing it there out of my screen view. Let's just close it here. Let's just go open. Let's go to Windows Update. It's not activated, so that's why we got the watermark there. So it's just, I was making sure of that. Yeah, I have not put in my single EPK key, but you know, once you go to activation, not find my device, but activation, and yeah, no key was found, so I would actually hit change key, and I would put in my key here to activate this product, or run it in offline if I was offline, but this guy has internet. But that would get rid of the watermark. Fix that for us. So overall, looking good, running quite nicely as well. And you can see from the start button that there are no apps. Recently this version added the Windows backup icon, but there is a way, I believe, to eliminate that as well. Lots of ways to customize this, but you can see here that there's really no apps. I know the Windows scrolled off the top there, but you pretty much get Edge, and that's about it. Over here in the system tray, you've got the security center, and that's it. USB plugged in, the micro SD card. So yeah, Windows 10 IoT Enterprise LTSC 2021 running on an ARM processor. Definitely a different install. See if I can bring myself back on screen. Definitely a different install than installing on an x86. A lot of preparation of both the board and the SD memory card, getting them ready to boot, transferring the different files, getting the special BSP drivers implemented into the Windows image file. Quite a few extra steps to get that set up and onto that board. But now it's fully functioning and working. And again, there is our I.MX8 board. There is the OS installed. And with that, I thank you guys for watching.